Another episode of Toby's Stupid Vlog.
Hi there, it's what day is it? Thursday afternoon, and behind this solar array is the Cotswold Cattle Farm Park place, which we've just been with Amelia. It's amazing. It's mostly for kids. There's a farm, obviously a working farm at the back, but really it is like trampolines and soft play and playgrounds and tractor rides, and you can feed some animals. And I had quite a lot of fun. Amelia had a pretty good time too. So win-win really. This is Bourton on the water, but there's been a downpour. It's now Bourton underwater. Amelia is very pleased with herself because she just chose to put wellies on today, and there's now puddles everywhere. So it's you're all wet. I was going to say, so it's paid off. Mummy's gone to the candle shop. If you're going to go in, you're going to be slow and careful, okay? But otherwise, if you want to run in the puddles, that's probably easier. Yeah, so she's absolutely loving Bourton in the water. It's such a beautiful village. It's become a sort of parody of itself because people just come here to nose at it, and so the beauty is somewhat obstructed by the tourists. But it's still very beautiful, like the Cotswold stone and the lovely roofs. Amelia's obviously not seeing anything above an inch off the ground, so but anyway, you know, life's good. Quite as spectacular a sunset as it was yesterday, and also I'm a little bit late because I was reading Amelia's stories about crocodiles going to the dentist, but I have put the drone up to capture a few shots, so here they are. It's ever such a spectacular estate, and you can see the view here to the church through the trees. Just ever so nice. It's such a peaceful place, Gloucestershire, and I really do miss it. We haven't been 2 years, and I know a lot of people haven't been anywhere for 2 years, but it does hurt the soul, is what I'll say. So it's nice to be out and about again. Newark Park. This is the house. This is the amazing view. I just took some photos, which on the view across the River Severn, and we're now going down through the woods because there was a play area at the bottom. The advantage of being a National Trust member is obviously you get to see these amazing places, beautiful gardens, historical interesting buildings, and also, you know, you get to go to a play area for free at the bottom of a large hill. Amelia, are you looking forward to climbing this mountain on the way back up? This one, yeah. Yeah, that's when we go back to the car, we got to climb back up the mountain. This is really quite a unique place to stay. And when the weather's like this, there's a beautiful summer's evening, blue sky. You wander out of your castle, past the farmyard. You can see Tetbury in the far distance. Let's do a zoom. It might get a bit pixely, but you'll get the idea. It's quite impressive. Quite impressive. And there's like this ancient walnut tree, which is in like a painting from like the 18th century. These beautiful cyclamen underneath. And there's the old entrance to the keep and the manor house on the left, which has been built onto the side of the ruins. It's very... oh, it looks like rain coming out of those clouds. It's a very unusual place. And that's what's so charming about it. It's not the cheapest place you can stay, by no means, but you won't find another farm, castle, mansion that you can stay in the Cotswolds, I wouldn't have thought. So there's the farmyard. I don't think the farm is actually an active working farm anymore, unfortunately. Or at least not in the sense of having any animals. I don't know whether there still seems to be some arable crops, but I don't know if they're leased out to somebody else or not. This is the bit that you could really do something with if you really wanted to. Don't you think? What an amazing home that would be. And then your view would be over the hills to Tetbury down here. Quite beautiful. It's a nicer evening, so I'm going to have a look at the sunset. There's a castle through the trees. There's a lot of nature here, as you would expect, in the middle of the Gloucestershire countryside. Oh yeah, oh yes, this looks good. Look at that, purpley, orangey goodness. It's very special. Very nice. Morning. Today seems much more like a autumn day than yesterday evening did. If you look into the field there, just see we can't see anything because the fog. It's kind of the point. It's really misty and foggy and cool today. We've got about an hour to pack up and go, and I've got to make some pretzels in the meantime, which is what is happening next. Let's go and see what chaos is happening inside. Kitchen. Table. Octonauts. Good? Yeah, puffins. And then there's our bedroom. And then you can see the farm from our window. Hello, this is Durham Park. And we have been here before. I've been here lots for the last 40 years or so. I've been here with Crystal a couple of times, and this is the first time Amelia's come. We are just at the back of the house at the moment. Let me just go up the steps and show you the front. It feels like it's about to start raining, which is ridiculous. But, you know, summer. That's the crazy hill. We have to go back up there because we're parked at the top of that hill. Here's the house. in all its glory. My mum always teases me that when I was very small, we came here and I just wanted to play in the gravel. It's a pretty standard, toddler thing to do. It's Wednesday and we've been back for like 5 days, and I realise, I've gone back to my normal routine of filming nothing. So I pulled this camera out just to look at the sky, because it's September now and the weather's very, very mixed. Again, it's gone back to sort of the way it was in sort of May, June time, sort of tropical. So it's warm when the sun comes out and then it pours with rain. Huge downpours. I think it's actually finally worn out the old roofing on my shed. But it does look spectacular, like these huge clouds, the sun breaking through. It's fun to look at from inside, notwithstanding the amount it's going to cost me on new roofing. So that's why I pulled the phone out, and just to mark a couple of occasions. Firstly, I'm going to pick Amelia up from nursery. That's why it's 5 o'clock and I'm walking on the road with the buggy. And Amelia's just moved up class. All the class is named after Winnie the Pooh characters. And she was a Kanga, now she's a Tigger. She sort of has mixed feelings about this, if I'm honest. She's coming to terms with it. She liked being not the biggest. Now she's one of the biggest, and I'm not sure she's loving it, strangely. She likes the sort of innocence, I think, than what you can get away with being a Kanga. There's certain expectations on her now about, ability to ask for and use the toilet, and just slightly less babyish things. And she doesn't take responsibility well, that's what I'll say. So I'm going to go and see how she is. I bet she's very happy and full of the joys of life. It's just the mornings where she's less so. So we'll have to see. It will depend on whether we can get to the playground, which I doubt it, looking how wet everything is. This is the Surrey Hills Wood Fair at the showground in Cranley. It's actually this whole field. I don't know if you can see a tree line in the back. So there's performance stages, there's food, kids' activities, lots of woodland things, obviously, because it's a wood fair. Amelia's currently painting a fairy door. There's lots of tractors and fire engines and all sorts. It's very impressive, actually. Yesterday we were in Great Bookham. We went to their food festival, which was still pretty good, but nothing on this scale. And we thought that was much bigger than we were expecting. And that was, I ate a lot of ice cream. That's all I'm going to say about that. So we did 2 fairs in 2 days, which is not bad for September. But it's beautiful weather, and it's just so nice to be outside and really sort of seeing Surrey for what it is, which is, an outdoorsy place. To give you some idea how crazy it was, this field, which is now emptying out, was absolutely full all the way to the tree line there, all the way back that way. I don't know how many cars, but you can easily get, 25 cars in each row, and there must be easily 100 rows. So we're talking 2,500 cars possibly. This is madness to me. I didn't imagine it'd ever be this popular, but clearly it is hugely. Here we go, I can see them appearing through the cars. We're going to drive back. It's quite an interesting drive from Cranley, frankly, to anywhere, because Cranley is really cut off from the world. But I quite enjoy it, through the little roads and the woods.
And Luca, you go. Off you go.
Happy Friday. It's the afternoon. I was going to go for a walk today with Steve, but both of us actually, as it turned out, had slightly too much stuff to do at home. It's very frustrating being an adult sometimes. So that has been postponed. So I've come for a little walk on my own this afternoon. This morning I've just had loads and loads of work on, and then I had to take 3 radiators off because the plaster was coming in next week, and DIY stuff just sucks. It sucks. People who do it for a living, you're mental. You just are literally ebbing away the joys of your life in fiddling around with the place that you should be sitting and enjoying. Insane. So yeah, anyway, it's Friday afternoon, and I've come for a little walk in the nature reserve on the other side of the A3, which is what you can probably hear. It's very pretty down here, even with the rumble of traffic. I just wanted to make a brief comment because I haven't really touched on the fact that the Queen of the United Kingdom passed away about a week ago now, I think. Don't actually know what day it was. And for some reason the entire country's come to a screeching halt. I understand there's matters of state in terms of, like, there's a funeral on Monday and that's a big procession and bits of London are obviously going to be closed. That's fine. And I understand the family is obviously in mourning and they have things to do, and I get that as well. I don't understand, however, why the rest of the country has to do anything at all, frankly. We're a country that is probably split quite evenly, monarchy, pro-monarchy and Republican. Anyone who tells you otherwise is almost certainly making it up. And it seems weird to me that in 2022 we need to have an enforced bank holiday for the Queen's funeral, where shops like B&Q are closing, because obviously that is a great mark of respect to anybody to have B&Q closed in your name. Bonkers is how I describe it. It's just not a good way of the monarchy ingratiating itself with the subjects, and it's a very, very old-fashioned kind of way of dictating what should happen rather than working in the best interest of the public. So that's annoyed me quite a lot. Plus the fact that it's still front page news. I mean, and I've said this about a lot of celebrities where it drags on, and let's not kid ourselves, the Queen is basically just a celebrity. She doesn't really affect your life day to day. Most people who have any sort of touching points with the Queen and feel like their life has been affected by the royal family, probably only in a tiny, tiny, tiny way. The fact that she's head of state is kind of irrelevant, really. It's like an ex-president dying doesn't really affect you, and it's much the same thing. So all this sort of talk about great affection and blah blah, I have nothing against the Queen. I think her establishment is somewhat foolish at best, and at worst I think it's still dealing with demons of the past, frankly. But I just think we need to be a bit more mature about this. The new king is 73 years old. We're going to be doing this again in 20 years or less, I would imagine. Statistically a lot less than that. We need to think about how we actually deal with the death of a monarch, because this is not the way. Oh, side note, if you're a music radio station and the death of the monarch meant that you thought suddenly you had to play all sort of really sort of downbeat music and what have you, then either you've got a very short memory or you're just straight up stupid. Let's wind back a few years, shall we? The death of Princess Diana. Okay, now those of you who remember it might remember that all the radio stations went for a week, pretty much went into this kind of crazy play only downbeat sad music things and sort of abandoned their traditional programming, and because they didn't know what to do, they didn't have a plan basically, and they sort of panicked. Right, and then about 5-6 years after that, I remember all of the big radio stations coming together in a meeting and looking at it and going, well, we clearly can't do that again. It was terrible and the public hated it. And I remember very, very detailed conversations about, like, they got more abuse than they got praise about the way they handled it, and it was clearly not the approach to have taken, and they needed to pull back on those kind of things and be a bit more sensible. And they had lots of conversations about it. And then when, obit, as it's called, obituary time comes around again for the Queen, they did exactly the same thing. Like, they'd learnt none of the lessons. And I genuinely imagine that is the problem. They've learnt none of them. All the people that were there that learnt those lessons and made those decisions are long gone, and none of that information is passed on. The obit box that people have in radio stations tells you about the sort of technical things to do, but it's not really a thoughtful guide in terms of, like, what is appropriate in terms of content from a broadcaster that's not a news broadcaster. That's the key part here. I think they've handled it very poorly. That's my view as someone outside of the industry, again, as I was for the death of Princess Diana. I think it's a bad decision. Well, I can understand why on the day you might decide you want to tone it down a bit. Not all the way though. Like, songs aren't offensive when somebody dies. They don't suddenly become offensive overnight. They're not tasteless overnight. And you really aren't disrespecting someone who is dead, because you can't disrespect the dead because they're not around, so they can't take offence by playing a song that might be about, I don't know, might be about death, let's say, or tangentially. You've got to be a bit more mature about this. The kind of people who will be offended by that are not the kind of people, and this is kind of critical, are not the kind of people who advertisers want. That might sound really, really harsh, but it's a reality. Like, those kind of people who are really easily offended are not the people who spend money on the products you advertise on your commercial radio stations. So think about it again, because we've got, as I said, less than 20 years. Where's... Oh, look, it's the train again, Amelia. There's Mummy.
It's on the other side, Maddie.
This is Beckonscott Model Village, because it is Iris's birthday.
Well, we're having a here.
Okay. She is seeing the exhibition at speed. Good morning. It's Thursday already, which is very alarming. And this week has been, you know, disrupted by monarchism, and then Tuesday we got the plasterers to come back in, so we're doing the downstairs now. And yesterday I was out filming in London, which is annoying that I didn't actually pull out this camera and do some vlogging. But yeah, I was filming in London, then I came back. It took 2 hours to get there, nearly 2 hours to get back, which is 4 hours of travel time for 2 hours of filming, which is a little bit insane. Today I am working in home office doing the Fantasy Premier League podcast this morning, and then I'll go back into central London to do for an award show this evening. And then tomorrow, who knows, a little bit of resting might be nice. Right now, although we have what you might call good quality problems compared with how things were like 6 months ago, I'm really still longing for the day when I wake up and my problems for the day consist of, you know, Amelia related issues and work, and not thinking about things of the house, ways of spending money, because that is just a way of making yourself very stressed. Because today we're currently undoing some of the plastering that was done yesterday, because whilst we can't work out why, somehow we've managed to make all the lights in the kitchen stop working, and we can't take up the boarding above them because we have a new bathroom in there which is tiled, and we can't take down the ceiling around them because we have a new ceiling in there. I mean, we could, but we've got a new kitchen as well. So somewhere in the hallway there is an issue that is causing there to be no power, and this is one of the many reasons why I think DIY is a mug's game, and home improvement generally is just foolhardy. But yeah, you know, that's what happens when you rip everything out, put everything back in again. Not everything works exactly as you planned, and it's very frustrating, and I'm exhausted just thinking about it, if I'm honest. Hi there. It's a beautiful morning in Dublin. Been here a couple of days. All that I filmed is for work, so I haven't really shown anything. But it is great to be back. It's a fun city. And when the sun comes out, it's even better. Although it is obviously cold because it is the end of September. But I'm just wandering over to Fire Restaurant, which is where the steak challenge judging was yesterday and where the awards are tonight. And we're going on a study tour now down to a farm shop, I think, down in Wexford, which is on the southeastern coast of Ireland. So they're always quite fun. I'm bringing the drone and the gimbal and we'll see what goes on.